All right, everyone, we're going to make another one. Okay, so in this design, we have, this is the one that we want to make. And this is our sloper. I'll do my pattern analysis. Okay, in this case, what we're doing is we're moving my waist to center front seam. And we're going to move bust to center front seam. We're going to combine them. And then as a little side note, a little star or step 3, remember to cut 2. Okay, this isn't on the fold. We want to cut 2 of them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make this pattern. Okay, and I'm going to put my dart right there. That's where I want both of them to go. This up just a tad. So I want it to go, both of them to go there. Okay, I want to, I can't have this be straight really because not the whole thing, because essentially the dart's going to be going here. So I have to kind of decide, you know, what, if there's a part of it that I want to be straight, or there's a couple different ways that I can make this. If I want, I can start tracing here and have the bottom be on green. Okay, so I can start tracing here, close this, move it up, keep going, etc. And so this would be straight, but ultimately this would be off green. Alternately, if I wanted this to be on green and be more stable, I could do the opposite, where essentially, you know, I start going around this way and then I close this one. Okay, and then I get to this one and close this one. So that would have this being straight and this very much being off the side. Another way that I can do it is I could trace this part right here, pivot this one, return it back, and then pivot this one and turn it back. So that's another option, which means that none of it would be on the straight grain. So there's different ways to do this pattern, not just one. Okay, but you know, lots of different options of how we can tackle this. Okay, so let me kind of show you. Okay, so first option is that I have the waist be on the straight grain, and I often like to have the waist be on the straight grain because there's a lot of structure. Okay, so I'm going to start tracing. I go down here and I come around to my waist dart, and I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to pivot this closed. Okay, switch color pens, and then I keep coming around, tracing. And then I come to this side and I pivot this closed. Change colors again. And here's my mark, right? Not Chalmere. Do my circle. Okay. So now I have both those darts combined here together. Notice the opening is not very big because this distance is smaller than those. Okay, so it doesn't have a chance to kind of flare out as much. But that is both darts combined. This part is going to be on the straight grain. So I'm going to go ahead now. Find my halfway mark. Draw this guideline, and again, I'm going to bring this pretty close to my dart point, just shy of the dart point. like so. And when I cut it out, I'm going to leave some excess here. And I'm going to put my green line here. This is going to be my center front. Okay, but it's not on the folds, okay, because I'm going to be cutting two. Extend this down. Put a big right angle here, etc. Okay, I'll cut this out. And I'm going to show you the other ways that you can make this pattern. We can compare it on. So we can go ahead and cut this out. So go ahead and I will fold this. Fold it in half. Get my lines to meet up. Again, this is considered to be a vertical seam line, so I should be folding this down towards the waist. So. And hold it and trim it. And if you want, you can use removable tape and pop it open. Okay. So this is one way of doing this pattern. And again, we're going to glue this. Well, I'm not going to glue it down yet. So this would be essentially on the straighted grain, and this veers off. Okay. Now let's do it another way. Okay, I'm going to put this one to the side, show you another way this can be done. Same pattern analysis, same exact thing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to line up. I have my notch. Okay. This one, I'm going to have the top part, okay, beyond. So the top of the pattern. So for this one, I'm going to trace up. Have this part be on the straight of the grain. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pivot my bust closed. This moves down, change colors. I'm going to pivot the waist down. Get rid of that waist dart. Keep tracing. All right, so get my circle on there. And my notch. Do the same thing I did before. I'm going to go ahead now. Find the halfway mark. Dotted line. draw my new dart and I'm going to bring that almost to the bust point. Is combined darts we bring almost to the bust point because it makes it fit better, especially in this case because this is a pretty short dart, so it also will look better for that reason. Now for this is the neckline is where I'm going to have the straight grain. Okay, and we're cutting 2, so there's no fold, but this would be my center front. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And fold this one. All right, so this one, we're going to go ahead now and fold it. Again, this is considered to be a vertical and a vertical seam line with a horizontal dart. And so I will fold it down. And then go ahead and trim it. Pop it open. Okay, so let's compare these two. So let's compare these two. So this one, I'm going to lay this way. Okay, so here's my green line. Okay, and this is going to be my center front. This is the part that goes off grain. This one, okay, this one is going to be opposite. Okay, so this one, I have the straight grain here. Okay, I have straight grain here, and it veers off this way. But look at this. Okay, it's the same pattern. Do you guys see that? It's exactly the same pattern. The difference is how we're using the pattern making paper. Okay, so it's the same exact pattern as far as the shape. It's just how we're utilizing, where we're putting the grain line and how we're using the pattern paper. Okay, so the last way that we could do this this piece is big enough. got a scrap here. Okay, the last one we could do this. So one more way, okay, putting my notch there, and then I can establish this corner between the two darts. Okay, then I can pivot this one closed. Return it to its original position, so this is all lined up again, and then pivot this one closed. Put my arm's eye notch on there, do my bar circle. Okay, now I can draw my dart on here. Find the halfway place. Do my guideline. Draw my dart, bringing it just shy. Just shy. Cross that little part off. This is not a dart, that's just a little place where I skipped it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. Hold my dart. Okay, go ahead, fold the dart again. Down. Fold it down. Get a better crease on there. So, oops. Ah, got too many pens in the way. All right. And then go ahead and trim it. Okay. Now let's look at this one. So in this case, I don't have, if I use my paper, okay, I'm not making a green line parallel with center front. My numbers, my green line would be here, which I don't really want to put it over the dart. I'm going to put it over here on the other side. my green line is running this way. So at no part of the center front is on the green line. So all of these are exactly the same shape. You line them all up and they're all the same shape. Again, the difference is this one has the green line here with the top veering away. This one has the green line here with both of them veering away. And this one has the green line here with the bottom veering away. Okay. Now, when I did the pattern marking, so when I do this one, okay, I have this going down it. So I would label it bodice front. This one, bodice front. And I can pick anything here as center front, but this is center front if I wanted to. Bodice front, my name, and the date. And size 10, and it's not on the full, so I'm going to cut 2, right? So I'm just picking one of them to do, okay? And I could say that's this pattern. But I can also label both of these the same way and have it be that pattern. So I'm cutting 2, not putting it on the fold, okay? But I'm going to show you something super tricky, okay? So let's say I had this design, or I had this design. Okay. Now, the pattern analysis is going to be the same as this one. Do my comparisons. What am I doing? Okay. So I'm moving the waist to center front, moving the bust to center front and combine. Okay. But the difference is I don't have that seam line going all the way down. This is the dart. This is the seam line. This is on the fold. Okay. So for this one, because the seam line isn't going, center seam line doesn't go all the way down, then I'm still going to place that part on the fold. So I'm going to cut 1. Cut 1, place bottom on fold. So there's no seam line there. That means that's going to be on the fold. So I could use, I lost it. What happened to it? Okay, this one. Okay, so this one right here, I could label this way. So imagine, go ahead and glue it down. Imagine I can label the pattern differently, place this part on the fold, getting that crease. So the fabric would be here and this would be veering away. Okay, so I would call this bodice front. L box 9, 10, 3, and it's the size 10, and I'm going to cut 1 as opposed to 2. All right. So you see how the fabric fold would be here, and this would veer away from the fold. So I would get that seam here, but have the fold here. So let's look at this one. same pattern analysis. It's just different pattern markings. Move waist to center front. Move bust to center front and combine. And in this case, I'm going to put the folds for the green line and folds at top, okay? Because this is a seam line. This is a dart, this is a seam line. This part's going to be on the fold. So, here you go. Okay, so I can glue this one down. Now I can still make, decide to use these two and cut two, and that would be fine. But if I wanted to do this kind of T shape and not have cut two, oops, doing it down this way. Okay. So now this one is a boss front. Box. 9, 10, 23, size 10. And I'm going to put the fold here and I'm going to cut one. Okay. So again, I held these all up on top of one another, and they're totally the same. They're all the same, but they can make very different things depending on how we label them. And this is part of why I really wanted you all to get the pattern making paper, because it helps you see this, how you use it. Okay, so we have this one, we have this one, or we can have this one. Pretty tricky. Let me know if you guys have any questions.